Hello you guys and welcome to another episode of The Creative Heart. My name is Gideon and I'm also known as Gideon's Light and I'm your creatively fit coach. So in this episode we're starting a small new series of our art journal year and we're going to be using abstraction. Now abstraction is a method by which you look at reference material and you sort of loosely represent it by using the correct shade or color. And today I'm going to show you how I did this painting using that reference material and painting with a credit card. Yes, you're right. This entire painting was done with a flat surface card like this, or my paint mover, which is basically the same, it's just got a handle. So it's been a lot of fun because we did some color mixing and we used acrylic paint today to paint this beautiful landscape using abstraction. So if you want to learn more about abstraction, then give me a second. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you exactly how. Good afternoon everybody and welcome to my studio. This is exciting as we get into our next page in our art journal, and we finished our progress, what shall we call it, our journey of the first few weeks. And let's just do a quick recap. We did our beautiful watercolor. We were inspired by 2 warm colors and 1 cool color, and the following week we did 2 cool colors and 1 warm color, and it was just a lot of fun to play with our watercolor. And then we had 4 weeks where we were inspired by the seasons, and that was a lot of fun. So we really had a beautiful space and time to explore the medium of watercolor. And coming up next is going to be a few weeks of abstraction. Now that's going to be a lot of fun and we're definitely going to be using our acrylic paint. But I'm running ahead of myself. Let us just take a moment to light a candle and to just create some sacred space. And as we ask the universe just to bless our world with peace and with harmony, with understanding, with tolerance and with wisdom, because we surely need it at this time in our world. So that is my intention that I'm setting for the world. May peace abound around us. So I'm going to move my candle way off camera here because we need a little bit of space today as we play with our acrylic paints, and I just want to make sure that I've got some space here to put everything. So for the next few weeks, as I just quickly use masking tape to section off this paper that I'm going to be painting on here in my art journal, we're going to be using abstraction as a way to sort of approach a painting. Quite a few weeks back, I think it was in December, I did a speed painting with hydrangeas. Do check out that video. It was a lot of fun to really paint a scene, even with a tool that is, what shall I call it? Not normal, whatever word that is for. I'm trying to think here and stick things down at the same time. Not a conventional tool. There we go. Takes my brain a few seconds sometimes just to plug in and to activate. I do have dyslexia, so it is my superpower. I like to have the opinion that things that sort of can hold us back sometimes in life. We can either see as a stumbling block or we can see it as a stepping stone. I prefer to see it as a stepping stone. But I also do believe that it's good to create awareness and for people to understand where you're coming from. So when you watch my videos and I'm using unconventional words or I'm using words that's maybe not the correct use of it, um, English is my second language. It is not my home language or my first language. I do speak English at home because my husband speaks more English than Afrikaans. So we speak English to each other, and sometimes when I get stuck on a word, then he does understand Afrikaans perfectly, but he is more in the English mindset. So that is my home language, but it's not my first language. Right. So I've just used this masking tape just to mask off the outside perimeter of my page. Seeing that this is very thin art journal paper, it just protects the paper and also it gives me a nice clean edge at the end of my painting session that sort of gives me a nice finish to my page as we work through this art journal this year. Alrighty then, so for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing with abstraction. Now, abstraction is a concept and a method in art where you take an image or your subject that you want to paint and you basically just look for shapes and you look for colors and the correct value of that color. And that is what's going to be our inspiration to paint this scene. Now, before we go any further, I do want to give credit to Simon Bradfield. This image belongs to him, and I pulled this off unsplash.com, where you can find images that you can use in your art. And because we're only doing an exercise, we're just using it as inspiration. I didn't purchase this copyright in order to absolutely copy this. If you want to create artwork that you're going to sell, then obviously you have to purchase the copyrights in order to do that. But it is free to use as an exercise in your art journey. So that is what I'm going to do. I just printed it out to make it easier for me and for us to look at this as a reference material. What you're going to need in order to paint along is any image of a landscape that you prefer. You're going to need a credit card of some sort. You can use any store-bought or store-given loyalty card or an old credit card. That's going to be my main tool I'm going to use today. Some masking tape to mask your page off with, a pencil, an eraser. You're going to need a palette, and I'm just going to use this flat palette today in order to mix my colors. And then you're going to need all the colors that you see on your reference material in acrylic paint. So for this particular painting, I've got here some orange because there's a lot of corals in here, coral colors. I've got a pale yellow in here. There's some yellow in the clouds and there's some yellow flowers over there. I've got some titanium white and it's really student grade quality because we need to lighten some things up. I've got some burnt umber, also student grade here because we've got some browns in our scene. I've got sap green here to play with the greens of our leaves. Then I've got violet here because there's a lot of purple tones in this painting. I also have magenta for all these beautiful pink tones, and I also have carmine red for the brighter pink red tones, and then I've got cobalt blue for the blues in our scene, and I also have black just to darken some of the colors when we need it. So that's all the colors that I have brought out for today's painting. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to get into this painting by just doing a basic drawing for myself. Now, a landscape have a very clear horizon line, and if that is nice and straight, it can be useful. So you can use a ruler. And if I look at this, if I have to fold this page in half, just to give me an indication of where that horizon line is located on my paper, because it can be very deceiving, I will notice that it's just below the middle point. That is basically where the water line is sitting. So I'm just going to measure my page. That's 26 centimeters. So 13 would be the middle. So I'm going to go for this 14 line, which is just a centimeter below the middle of my page. And I'm just going to give myself a horizon line so that I know that is a nice straight line, the water's edge on this painting. And then our landscape literally makes a little bit of a bow, and the highest point is just off the center towards the left. And that's basically this foreground. And I'm just going to gently draw this in for myself, okay? And then we're going to just do this first mountainscape over here that is quite dark and dominant, and it comes down to a nice low, almost like a little bit of an island. And then we have another little mountain behind that that's making quite a nice interesting little cliff there. And we've got a little bit of some foreground in the background, middle ground, there's the word, over there that's nice and dark. And then we've got these snowy mountains in the back. Alrighty then. So that gives us a very good indication of where what is in our painting. So I'm going to just stick this little painting onto my pole here. So you won't see this painting the whole time because I need some space to work, and I need to be able to just look up and find my guide. My strategy is going to be to work from the sky downwards and working in the background, and then work my way to the foreground. I think that is a good strategy as far as painting is concerned, especially landscape, because then if any of these foreground layers goes on top, like especially where it overlaps, then you have that section of the paint that's maybe already dry and sorted out. So that's going to be my strategy. I'm literally going to be using only my credit card to paint this painting. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick my painting up, and I'm going to dispense all the colors that I need here on my palette. And when I come back, I'm going to start painting this painting in an abstraction kind of way. I'll see you guys now. Right, you guys, I am ready to get into this abstraction. So you will need a bit of kitchen towel as well, so keep that handy. I did use a little bit of a palette knife, and I'm going to use that also to mix a bit of color so that we can get into our painting. So I'm going to use a little bit of this blue and quite a bit of white, and we're going to mix a nice bright blue color. There we go. I'm just going to wipe my little palette knife here, and I'm going to get into my credit card, and I'm going to pick up some of this color and start painting. Now, obviously with a tool like this, you won't be able to paint a lot of detail, but you will be amazed at what effects you can create with only a scraping tool like a credit card. So that gives us a nice deep blue edge at the top there. And I'm going to scrape that off quite thinly because I want it to dry quite fast. I'm going to smear that off, and I'm going to add a little bit more white to that because I need it to go lighter. And now I'm not going to thoroughly mix my paint because I like that streaky effect that we will have in the clouds. And I'm just using my credit card like this to just pick up some color and just drag this over my painting. That is definitely not paint. I'm just going to follow along this edge. It doesn't have to be absolutely correct. Exciting! I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my white. And there we have it. We've got a nice little interesting sky happening for us. Now in my painting, I also have some pink clouds and some yellow. It's obviously early in the morning, so I'm going to use very little of this yellow. And I'm going to use quite a bit of white to create a nice pastel kind of yellow. A little bit more white. That feels awesome. Wiping my little tool, and we're grabbing our credit card and we're picking up color like so. And I just want to see where all this yellow is positioned closer to the horizon here. Let's get the yellow on there. And then I'm also going to drag it over the sky here. And it's okay if some of it goes where it's not on the painting. I mean, really. It's all about the interesting marks that you can make. And we can always fill this up again with the mountain range if it's not accurate enough for you. Let me just take the paint off that corner so that we have less paint over there. There we go. Awesome. So in the beginning, you'll maybe find it difficult and you'll think, oh my word, I need a brush or I need another tool. But I want you to try and stay with it, because the whole idea of this exercise is to really look at the sort of value of the color that you're mixing, and then sort of where you're placing it to sort of get a shape that remotely looks what you are observing in your reference material. I'm going to take some of this white over to this magenta, and I'm going to mix a lighter version, a nice ice cream pink. I'm going to use the other side of my credit card. Waste not, want not, right? And I'm going to pick some of this up with my credit card like so. And I see some of these pink clouds in the sky in this position over here. And we see a little bit here as well. And then I see some clouds wisping away at the top there. Let's pick up a little bit more pink here. Here we go. That's nice. Cool. I feel we need a little bit more of this yellow, so I'm going to add more of the white in here. Lighten it up a little bit more. Forgive me if I'm not speaking loud enough. I do have my microphone on, and then I get so drawn into my painting, yes, that I forget to project as well. Alrighty then. I'm going to take just the corner off the paint so that that corner is clean, and just draw this through. That looks nice. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to bring a little bit more of this pink into my clouds here. Awesome. Those clouds look like they are flying away a little bit. I like that. So you'll notice when you get into it, you go, oh my word, this is actually a lot of fun, because I don't have to try and create perfect brush strokes. You soon familiarize yourself with the tool, and then it becomes a lot of fun. Okay, so now next on my agenda there is this beautiful blue mountain range, and it's quite dark. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of black, but I'm talking about a dash. Because black is so powerful, you need very little. There's a dash. It can overpower your color very quickly. So don't add too much. Right, so I'm going to use mostly blue here. And I'm going to add, well, let's first just use the blue as it is, because I see the top of the mountains are quite light. So let's load some paint onto our credit card. Did I mention this is going to get messy? Okay, now let me just find my mountains here. And now you can use the angle of your credit card to your advantage. And let's just talk a little bit about these mountains in the distance and drag the paint down. I'm going to use that corner because it gets a bit higher over there. Right, now I'm going to use just a little bit of this black in this paint, and I'm still going to mix it here with my credit card. So you see now why I want the flat palette, because you need to be able to have space in order to mix a little bit of color. And let's bring this darkness into the foundation of this mountain range. I'm going to just work up in these angles using the corner of my credit card. Alrighty then. That looks nice. So in a way, I'm teaching you also how to work with a palette knife, because it's the same sort of idea. The only difference is a palette knife gives you a variety of edges to work with that allows you for a little bit more detail as far as that is concerned. Okay, now this very bottom part of this mountain range is truly the darkest area in the painting, and I'm going to dispense a little bit of this burnt umber because I don't want anything to be too black. And the burnt umber goes quite dark by itself, as you can see. So I think that will be cool. I'm only going to load up the left edge of my credit card here so that I can work down here with that paint. Now, if you realize that something's too dark, you can always come back and lighten it up again later. Okie dokie. I'm going to smear that off there, wipe this off. Now, I noticed that this one mountain behind the other one is a bit lighter and it has a bit of orange into the brown. So I'm going to use this burnt umber and orange and mix the two to create a warmer color. A little bit more orange. And then we also need a little bit of lightness. I'm going to just scrape this lighter pink and just brighten up this color a little bit. That looks nice. Time for a fresh kitchen towel. Okay. Now I'm going to load the right side corner of my credit card because I want to use that right side corner to talk a little bit about this mountain. this little edge here. That comes into this valley like that. Yes, that's nice. Awesomeness, I love that. Okay, let's wipe off. Now this front mountain is also brown, but it's also slightly lighter than this piece down here at the bottom. So I'm going to use all this brown in this warm color that we just mixed and just darken it a little bit. We need to darken it a little bit more, so I'm going to add a bit of black and a bit of blue. Because orange and blue are opposite colors, you will give yourself a little bit more of a natural neutral color. Okay, so that looks very gray. I need to warm it up a little bit more. Let's add a bit more orange to it. So this is a great exercise to just teach yourself to mix a little bit color and to observe your reference material and to find the correct depth. We need a bit of black in there as well. Yes. Alrighty then. So I'm going to load up this color onto my credit card. And this comes in steep and down. Now work at a little bit of a diagonal way to bring the paint off, because that will read a little bit more like a mountain edge. There we go. Awesomeness. Like I said, if you come with an attitude of experimentation and playfulness, then you will enjoy this process quite a bit. Because it gives you the freedom to just express yourself and not to be so bogged down with detail. I think people find that very, how can I say, it's easy to begin to focus just on detail from the very beginning, when you should be looking at the shapes that you're painting and the value, in other words, how light or how dark the color is that you are painting with. Right, now I do feel that the mountains in the back is a little bit too dark, so I'm going to come in and mix a little bit of a brighter blue, but we do need some white now. Okie dokie, we've used up all our white, so let's get some white out here. Whee, there was blue on my palette knife, so now there's blue in my white, but that's okay, I'll scrape it out later. Okay, let's mix a lighter blue. That feels nice. Now, what would tone this blue a little bit down so it feels like a shadowy color. Let's add a dash of orange. Not a lot, just a little bit, and you'll find that the blue goes a little bit more gray towards the neutral side. That was maybe a bit too much orange. You see, that's the whole idea, is to see what effects you get with your mixing of your color. And that is the whole learning curve, because you're gaining a lot of confidence to paint with color. Okay, I think I'm going to load the right hand side corner of my credit card. And let's just go to the top of these mountains and just bring in a little bit of a muted gray color. And observing my reference material, this comes down here just a little bit. And up and down again, all the way to the water's edge. And then this little other island begins to come into the foreground. Awesome, that feels much better to me. Okie dokie, let's wipe off, clean our tool. It's basically the same methodology with a palette knife as well. So you use a lot of kitchen towels to clean your tool in order to get, to reuse your tool the whole time. Okie dokie. I do feel that I want to create a little bit of a harder edge there with a mountain in the back, but that is detail. Let's just leave this section to dry, because I want to come in with the lake water that's going to reflect some of these colors that we see in the sky, and I don't want it to mix with this paint. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to dry this section with my hair dryer. Awesomeness, that is dried, so we can mix a little bit of our watercolor. Now this lake is very light and the space is very small. So I did want to mention, you can also, maybe if you have a thinner credit card, you can cut a section. I'm not going to try right now, I'll do it off camera. You can cut a card, maybe just cut a corner of the card, or just remove a little bit if you need a shorter strip, or you can cut a credit card into a quarter. That might even be a better idea, and then use that part for shorter strokes that you might need to do. So I might get into that. But I also have these amazing paint scrapers. They are paint brushes that are made of silicone, and it will basically give you the same kind of effect, because you have this silicone rubber edge that you can paint with. So I'm going to just bring this one a little bit closer, because I think, it gives me a little bit of a shorter brush stroke to play with, but it's basically the same idea as the credit card. I just want to be able to control my water a little bit easier, and I can mix my color directly with this paint mover. So I'm going to go into my white. And I'm just going to touch a little bit of the blue in there. So you can see I haven't really mixed it. And I'm going to come in here definitely with some horizontal movements. Let's just get this edge. Now you could just use masking tape as well. And I'm not going to worry about my line that I have here because I know now where that is positioned. And I'm just going to, in a horizontal fashion, drag my paint where the water will be. I'm just going to make that edge nice and straight, as straight as I can with this tool. I'm going to bring some of the pinks in here as well that we are seeing on the water. There we go. I'm almost mixing the paint here on my page. And I think I must bring in a little bit of this yellow as well. Not everywhere, but will definitely some of it will be seen. So it helps to talk a little bit about water. I'm just going to use my brush quite flat. There we go. I'm happy with that. That is amazing. Let's wipe off. Right. Now we're going to get into our foreground, and for that we need our sap green, and I'm going to play with a variety of greens here. This is also a very student grade kind of paint. I've got a lot of paints that I want to finish in my arsenal that's just standing there getting dry, and I believe you must use up every drop that you've got, so don't throw anything away, especially if you get into exercises in your art journal, or maybe little playful moments. Right, so I've now put this on this brush, but I want to get back into my credit card because that's sort of the prompt and idea. So I'm going to just come ahead and finish this edge with my varieties of sap green and just fill in this landscape here. I'm going to try and be neat now, so I don't want to ruin my lake water there. I'm just working away from the masking tape so that it gives me a nice clean edge. Okie dokie. Now looking at the foreground and this plant material, it does have some interesting textures. So I'm going to go ahead and tap my credit card on here, and it's going to just give me a little bit of texture that's going to talk a little bit about some foliage. Let's bring in a little bit of white as well. Maybe a dash of orange. Let's just playfully create some drag marks that might talk a little bit about grasses and foliage and plant kind of structures in the foreground. Okay, great. So let's wipe off. I'm just wiping off camera here. So I'm going to allow this to dry now. I'm going to use my hairdryer obviously to speed things up because we don't want to sit here watching paint dry, right? It's quite exciting because now we're going to get into the flowers and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to quickly dry this closer to the water's edge and that looks to me like beautiful violets. And I'm sort of double loading my brush here with a little bit of white to sort of give me a little bit of a mauvey finish. And I'm just going to go ahead and tap in these little flowers that I see. Maybe let's add a little bit of this as well, of this carmine red. Then we have a red violet. And we're starting there in the back, working our way forward. And obviously the lines, because it's in the distance, is very blurred and things are much closer together. So this forms a little bit of structures. And I'm just going to playfully add some texture to that. We're starting to go into the oranges here a little bit. Maybe that's a bit much. Let's mix it with the purple as that comes into the section at the right hand side. Here the purple is very muted, so I'm going to mix the purple and the orange together a little bit to form a bit of a neutral. The orange and the purple are analogous, but they do sort of mute it down a little bit. So it gives us a little bit of a muted, mauvey kind of tone. I'm just adding little structures here, trying to mimic what I see. And just like with a credit card, I have limited control over the paint, besides this very linear kind of finish. But I think that gives us a nice background. Now coming forward, it's just a matter of play. I'm just representing these fields of color. And I'm just using my paint mover in a very vertical kind of manner. And just allowing these colors really to mix on the page. Let's add in a little bit of white to the mixture so that we have a little bit of contrast as well. Coming forward, I will definitely make these colors a little bit lighter. And it's okay to pause every now and again and just maybe clean your brush and just see what it really needs, what the painting needs from you. I want to bring in some lighter pinks here. Use some of this white to make some brighter pinks. We need a little bit of blue in that as well. So it's almost like a lavender kind of color. And I'm just tapping my paint mover here. We're going into some darker purples over here, leaving some of the green to shine through as well. You can see how much paint is on my paint mover here. That's pretty. Let's wipe off. Now, here in this area are some brighter yellow flowers. I'm going to just grab some of that white. It's okay that there's a bit of blue in there because these yellow flowers are quite cool. So the blue will tone that down quite a bit. Right, so that's basically there. I'm going to wipe off. And now I see a lot of peach. I'm going to mix that into the yellow. And I'm going to grab some of this white. And let's bring some of this peachy tones in here. And all of this paint where the flowers are still wet, so as I bring in some of these color, it's mixing with the paint that is on the canvas. Right. Just some pretty movement, even lighter still. I like that. Okay, let's wipe off. Now we need a very light pink. Let me work here. Let's use most of this white. Add a bit of this pink to it. So we have a nice soft corally pink. And we've got very distinct flowers now coming forward. And I'm going to get back into these pretty pinks down here with a bit of the blue. Working down on the page. And now you're going to see why I love masking my pages, because I'm working off the page now. And I need to communicate that movement as we come forward. I'm going to bring in a bit of this darker purple down here. And it's quite impasto. Let's add some of this blue to these flowers down here as well. Some of the blue in here as well. Okay, I need to wipe off. I mean, I've got a whole rainbow of colors here on my paint mover. I need some of this brighter coral color. Over here. Some magenta. I'm going to bring in some magenta here as well. That's pretty. Some of the coral color here in front of these yellow ones. Okay, I'm going to brighten up that yellow a little bit. It's a little bit too green for me. but I definitely need a bit of white as well. You can see how white is one of the colors you're going to need the most. So I'm going to work down here. I'm going to keep it close because I want to add some snow in the distance as well. Oh, I need some mixing space here. Okay, that's a bit better. That looks nice. I like that. Okay, this brighter color, coral color over here. That brings some focus to the center of this composition. And I'm going to just bring a little bit of this brighter color up there. Just on these tips that is catching some of the light. That looks nice. Maybe a few brighter ones down here. Oh, that's my puppy at the door, ready to get some attention. Okay, we need to let this dry thoroughly because I want to come back and add a little bit of snow to the mountain tops, and then we are pretty much done for today. So I'll see you in 5 minutes, and then we'll see. And I just want to add some snow to the mountain peaks. So I'm going to use this white paint here. And it's okay if there's a little bit of pink in there because the snow basically will reflect everything that we're seeing in the sky. So I'm seeing that there's some snow on these mountain peaks. The only thing with the paint movers is the paint sometimes gets pushed back up to the halfway point on these tools, and then it's not painting anymore. My goodness. Okay, so we've got some reflections of snow sitting on the mountains. I'm going to just first use this pink, and then I'm going to clean my paint tool, and I'm going to come in with some clean white at the very tips. My flowers are still wet. Just close my studio door. I'm going to talk a little bit about these mountain ranges. There we go. That's pretty, don't you think? I think so. I see there's a mountain peak sticking out there as well. So let's add some snow there. As well. There There we go. That looks very cool. Okie dokie. I'm going to smear that off. I'm going to get into this mountainy blue color, because here we've got a little bit of Right, you guys, I'm going to just speak a bit louder because my microphone has died on me and it's charging, but I would like to just show you guys the finished product here. And today we use this beautiful image from unsplash.com, and this image belongs to Simon Radfield. Thank you, Simon, for this amazing photograph. It must have been an amazing opportunity to stand there and take this photograph. So today we played with a credit card as our main tool. I did switch to my paint mover simply because I had a smaller surface, but it's the same idea in the end of the day. And this whole abstraction exercise is about really trying to capture the mood and the direction of brush marks, the color, the correct sort of color tone or shade or hue, and just roughly represent what you see visually. Now you can see if I put these two together that I worked off this image and we basically captured the vibe of this painting through abstraction. And because you sort of stick with the same tool throughout the painting, you get sort of a textured style that becomes part of the whole artwork, and that really becomes pleasing to the eye. So I really want to challenge you guys, if you want to learn to just paint a little bit loosely, you really want to study your reference material and observe what sort of mixtures of color that you are mixing, this is a great exercise to just get out of your head and really get onto the paper and capture the mood and also the sort of feeling and the colors that you are observing in your reference material. So this is my challenge for you guys. You can find a landscape that's nice and colorful, grab your credit card and your acrylic paints, and let's get abstract with it today. I'm looking forward to seeing images of your exercise. Share it with me on the Creative Heart group. There are links in the description below that you can use. And also, while we are talking, I would like to remind you that in the month of March, we are going to dive deep with a unicorn theme over on my Patreon channel. So if you want to get into some magical unicorn energy, use the links in the description and join today. It's only $5 a month, and there are plenty of exclusive content for you to dive deep into that I provide. So thank you guys, thanks for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button and the like button, and if you have any questions or comments around today's prompt, feel free to drop me a comment on this video. I just wanted to dive deep for you guys, checking out the reference material on the right, and now coming down into this abstraction that we did today, and we basically just used the credit card and the paint mover, and I just love all of these beautiful bright colors that is represented here. So I can't wait for this to dry so we can take the tape off and reveal the beautiful painting underneath. So I'll see you guys again. Bye bye for now.